Good morning, students. This is session 1 of 8th Standard Social Science, History First Unit, The Advent of Europeans. So, before entering into that, children, listen carefully to this session. If you have any doubt, make a note of it, which shall be clarified on the day of reopening. So, now, in our previous videos, that is, in our previous session, I have explained you the Geography First Unit, that is, rocks and soil. So, I have told about the definition of rocks. So, rocks are the solid mineral material. And then the different types of rocks. Example, your igneous, sedimentary and metamorphic rocks. So, are the characteristic features and how those rocks are formed. Next, I have told about petrology. Petrology means study of rocks. And then the rock cycle, it starts with magma and finally it ends with the igneous rocks. And then the uses of rocks. Then the definition of soil, then types of soil. So the 6 major types of soil are alluvial soil, black soil, red soil, laterite soil, desert soil and mountain soil. And then I told World Soil Day is observed on December 5th. Then what are the causes of soil erosion and what are the types of soil erosion? So soil erosion means removal of top layer of the soil, and types I have explained you about the rill and then sheet erosion and then gully erosion, and what are the effects and what are the factors that cause, and the agents, example your natural agents, that is your running water and wind, and man-made agents like deforestation, that is cutting down of trees. So these are all the man-made agents. Then I've explained you about the soil conservation practices like your terrace farming, strip farming, then applying windbreaks. So these are all the tips to conserve your soil from erosion. And then I've explained you about the layer of soil. So it is called soil profile. So soil profile means the vertical section of the soil. And then soil uses. So now in today's class we are going to deal with history. History first unit, the advent of Europeans. So how the European countries entered into India. Before entering into the topic, let's have a recap of our previous standard portion. So what is history? History is the study of past events in chronological order. That means in particular sequential order. The word history is derived from a Greek word called historia, which means learning by inquiry. So history conveys really happened incidents, so it is not like a bedtime stories and all. Now let's see the timeline. BCE means before Common Era and CE means Common Era. So now let's see how the timeline works. So the dates which are farther from the zero on the BCE side is considered as older event, and on the ACE side the farther dates are considered as new event. So I hope you understand this. So now let's move on to classification of history. So our history are classified under the 3 time periods. So first one is your ancient history, and second is your medieval history, and third is modern history. So let's see one by one in detail. So first one is prehistory, which is also called ancient history. So I'm going to share some 5 points related to it. So first point is, so prehistory marks the oldest period in the history of humanity. So it begins with the appearance of humans and hence with the invention of writings. So this period started 5 million years ago. That is since ages before. So it is called prehistory because it is a time period before your history. That is before invention of writing. So the second point is, according to the theory of evolution, the modern human evolved from certain group of primates and were able to stand upright on their legs, and their brain grew in size and made them to think on their own. So the first human lived in Africa. So the prehistory can be divided into Paleolithic, Neolithic and the age of metals. So let's see one by one in detail. So first one is about your Paleolithic people. So during the Paleolithic age, the people were nomads. Nomad means they didn't settle at one place. They keep on moving from one place to another in search of food and shelter. The major occupation was hunting and food gathering, that is food collectors. So among their favorite foods were their wild berries, deer, bison and mammoth. So later they began to settle in tribes, dwelling huts and natural caves. They decorated their caves with cave paintings. So usually they represented their hunting styles in their cave paintings. So as you see in the picture. And then the major invention is your fire invention, then stone tools. So that's why your Paleolithic age is also called Whole Stone Age. So later on the people progressed to use sharpened tools. So there begins your Neolithic period, which is also called New Stone Age. So let's see more details about Neolithic period. So the fourth point is about Neolithic. So during the Neolithic times, they practiced agriculture and cattle rearing, and they started domestication of animals, and then later on they cultivated their crops. Then they stopped being nomads and they began to settle down at one particular place, and they lived in a community called village. So moreover their population increased in number, and mainly they chose the river valley side area. Why? Because they need plenty of water to cultivate their lands and also to domesticate their animals. And the major invention during the Neolithic period is wheels. So it made transportation easier. And then other major invention is the sail, then the loom, then the plow, which helped in agriculture process, then the pottery works. So later on the people progressed to use metal tools. So there begins your age of metals. So our fifth point is about your age of metals. So the people progressed to use metal tools. They found that it is more resistant than your stone tools. They used it to hunt, cultivate, and they used also in the agriculture process and farming process. So their population increased in number. The first metal used by man is copper, then bronze, then iron, and then gold. Then they improved their craftsmanship, and then transportation was improved. Thus in turns improved the trading system, that is barter system, exchange of goods for goods. Thus your prehistory hence. Now let's see about Indus Valley civilization, which is one of the oldest and earliest urban civilization, which is also called Harappa civilization. So the migrants from Somalia, which is present day Iran, they entered into India and settled at Karachi near the Indus Valley. So the twin city called Harappa and Mohenjo-daro was developed, and mainly they used baked bricks or sun-dried bricks in their architecture. So one speciality is that each bricks is of uniform size. And why they use sun-dried bricks? Because it will be more durable and the buildings will be more strong. So as you see in the picture, the houses are made in a linear arrangement and it is of grid pattern. So well town planned system, and the streets are very neat, and each house has a drainage canal, and finally it will drain out into the main canal. So they maintain the best sanitation system. So that's why it is called urban settlement. So next, mainly the people settle near the river valley area. So because they need plenty of water to domesticate their animals and to cultivate their lands. So all these you would have studied in your 6th standard. So I am just recalling it. So now we can just move on to the medieval history. So medieval history means it is the time period between your ancient history and the modern history. So medieval history itself we can classify under 2 time intervals. So first one is your early medieval and second one is your later medieval. In early medieval you can get to know about Palas, Pratiharas, Rashtrakutas, Cholas and Rajputs, which you will study in the forthcoming lessons. And later medieval starts with the establishment of Delhi Sultan and ends with Mughal emperors. So he is Muhammad Ghori. So he was the one who started the slave dynasty in India. So he appointed Qutbuddin Aibak, his slave, as the ruler of Delhi, and he returned to Afghanistan. So after the death of Ghori, Qutbuddin Aibak became the first Delhi Sultanate. And the medieval history ends with the great Mughals like Babur, Akbar, and the last one is Aurangzeb. So now let's move on to modern India. So modern India is a time period between your advent of Europeans and independence struggle. So let's see the European powers in India. The Portuguese wanted to buy spices from India and sell them in Europe in order to make money and become rich. So with this motive, they set out the sail. They started from Portugal and then slowly they reached the Cape of Good Hope, which is the southern tip of Africa, and then they reached Mozambique, and from there they landed at Calicut, which is on the Malabar coast. So the Portuguese was led by their captain called Vasco da Gama, and they landed at Calicut in the year 1498. So Vasco da Gama met the ruler of Calicut called Zamorin, and they had a conversation. So just listen to the conversation.
What is the reason for your visit? Your Highness, I have come from Portugal and wish to buy your famous Malabar spices. I request permission to trade here. What will we gain in return? I will give you a lot of money for your spices, and once I sell them, Malabar spices will become world famous. Very well, permission granted.
So children, this incident took place many years ago. So let's see what happened next. So the Portuguese became the first European to carry Indian spices abroad and sell them, and they became very rich. So on seeing the Portuguese, other European countries also entered into India for trading purpose. So other Europeans like Dutch from Holland, Danes from Denmark and French from France landed in India for trading. So as you see in the picture. So meanwhile in England, some traders formed a company called East India Company. So in 1600, the East India Company was given the Charter of Trade by their queen. So on getting the Charter of Trade, the ships of East India Company landed in India to trade in spices, cotton and sugar. So the British entered into India in 1600. So Mughal Emperor Jahangir was the ruler when the British first came to India. So the British captain, he visited Jahangir's court and he asked permission to set up a factory at Surat. So on getting the permission, the British set up a warehouse called factory in Surat to store their goods. So but there were constant fights and wars between the British and the other European powers. So then the Danish, the Dutch and the Portuguese lost to the British and they were left with just a few settlements in India. So you can see in the map the settlement places. So the French and the British fought three bitter wars. So these wars are called Carnatic Wars from 1746 to 1753. At the end of the war, the French left with Pondicherry and Chandanagar, so the British began to rule the nation. So I hope you got an idea about our Indian history. So today we are going to see about the sources of history. So there are two kinds of sources. So one is your written source and another one is your material source. So before seeing the examples, first we have to understand the definition of a source and what is the importance of a source and how the source helps the historian to reconstruct our history. So let's see the definition. The sources are the collections of evidence or proof. So it is the evidence which is collected by the historian with much great efforts and it helps to reconstruct our past events. So what is the purpose? Why the historian has to research the historical source means to make people aware of what has happened in the past so that they may learn from the past failures and success. So the main motive is to create an awareness among the people and they should know how they should learn something from the past failures or success. So now let's see how the history is written. So a good historian works with many different kinds of sources. So he works with many different kinds of sources. For example, your written source like some literature books or some inscriptions. Inscription means the writings engraved on solid metals or solid stone walls like that. And secondary sources are your biographies, autobiographies. So the historians also ask questions about each source. So what are the questions they ask is, who produced the source, why was the source produced, and when was the source produced. So this is how the history is written by an historian. Historian means the person who writes the history. So now let's see the examples one by one. First one is your written source. So written source means some book. It is in the form of written copy. So it may be literature, travel accounts. Travel accounts means book written by a traveler, diaries, autobiographies, pamphlets, government documents, manuscripts. So these are the examples of written sources. So he is Anandarangam Pillai. So he is Anandarangam Pillai. He was a Dubash or a translator in Pondicherry to assist the French trade in India. So he was working as a translator under a governor, French Governor General named Dupleix. So he recorded the events that took place in French India. So his diaries contains the daily events from the year 1736 to 1760. So his diaries provides all the information about the political judgment, and it is one of the most valuable source of Indian history. So keep this in mind. Anandarangam Pillai served under the French territory. So this is the residence of Anandarangam Pillai located at Pondicherry. So next we can move on to archives. So first we have to know the definition of archive. So archive is a place where the historical documents are preserved. So the National Archive of India is located in New Delhi. So it is a place where all the documents are preserved. So our National Archive of India is located at New Delhi. So it is a chief storehouse of the records of the government of India. So what kind of information will be there is political, social, economic, cultural and scientific life and activities of the people of India. So it is one of the largest archives in the Asia. So keep this in mind that archive means it is a place where the historical documents are preserved, and it is located in New Delhi, and it is the largest archive in Asia. Next, George William Forrest. So he is called the father of National Archives of India. So this may be asked in one word. So who is called the father of National Archives of India is George William Forrest. So next we can move on to Tamil Nadu Archive. So in Tamil Nadu, the archive is located at Chennai. So the Madras Record Office, presently known as Tamil Nadu Archives, that is TNA, it is located in Chennai. So it is one of the oldest and largest document repositories in southern India. Repositories means storehouse where all the documents are preserved or stored. And then the most of the records in Tamil Nadu archives are in English. So most of the documents which are present in the Tamil Nadu archive is in the language of English. It is in the English language. And the collections include series of administrative records in Dutch, Danish, Persian and Marathi. So few documents are in French, Portuguese, Tamil and Urdu. So next, so this is your Tamil Nadu Archive located at Chennai. So the Tamil Nadu Archives has 1642 volumes of Dutch records which relate to Cochin and Coromandel Coast. So the Tamil Nadu Archive contains 1642 volumes of Dutch records. So this Dutch records contains information related to your Cochin and your Coromandel Coast, and these records cover the period from 1657 to 1845, that is 1845. So the records which are preserved in the Tamil Nadu Archive are covered under the time period of 1657 to 1845, and the Danian records cover the time period from 1777 to 1845. So I hope you are clear. So Tamil Nadu Archive is located at Chennai. Then Henry Godwell. So Henry Godwell, with much effort, he issued the first calendar of Madras Record, and the calendar was published in the year 1917. So keep this in mind. Who published the first calendar of Madras Record means it is Henry Dodwell. So let's move on to next slide. So next is material sources. So far we have seen about the written source, that is Diaries of Anandarangam and the calendar issued by Henry Dodwell. So now we are going to move into material sources. So many paintings. So material sources includes paintings and statues. So they are the main sources of modern Indian history, and they give us lot of information and achievements of the national leaders and historical personalities. So from the paintings and statues we can get the informations about the achievements of our national leaders. Then some historical buildings like St. Francis Church at Cochin, St. Louis Fort at Pondicherry, St. George Fort in Madras, St. David Fort in Kadalur, and India Gate, Parliament House, and the President House in New Delhi. So these are all the historical buildings. So it provides information about the architecture style of the Indian history. So these are the pictures of our historical buildings. So this is St. Francis Church at Cochin. This is Louis Fort at Pondicherry, St. George Fort at Madras, Chennai, and this is David Fort at Kadalur. So children, in 1690, Fort St. David was built by British at Kadalur. So keep this in mind. So when was the Fort St. David was built means in 1690. And this is India Gate, and this is the Parliament of India, and it is the President House located at New Delhi. So these historical buildings provides detail about the architectural style. So another important material source is museum. So the museum helps to preserve and promote our cultural heritage. So the museum is a place where the past things are preserved. So the National Museum is located at Delhi, and it is the largest museum in India. So it was established in the year 1947. So National Museum is located at Delhi, and it was established in the year 1947. So keep this in mind and note it down. And another important material source is coins. So the coins provides the economic condition of a dynasty or a territory. So let's see some details. So the coins are the good source to know about the administrative history. So that is about the economic status. So the first coinage in modern India was under the crown, was issued in the year 1862. So the first coinage was issued under the crown in the year of 1862. So Edward VII ascended after Queen Victoria, and the coins issued by him bore his model. So after the Queen Victoria, Edward VII ascended the throne, and the coins issued by him bore his model means it has a picture of him. So next is the Reserve Bank of India was formally set up in the year 1935 and was empowered to issue Government of India notes. So it may be asked in one word. So when was the Reserve Bank of India was established? So the answer is 1935. So now the first paper currency was issued by RBI. RBI means Reserve Bank of India in the year 1938, January 1938. Reserve Bank of India was set up in the year 1935, but the first paper currency was issued in the year 1938, and it was a 5 rupee note bearing the portrait of King George VI. So it was a 5 rupee note, so it contains the picture of King George VI. So I hope you are clear with this. So now let's see the mind map of today's session. So first we have seen about the definition of history. History means study of past events in chronological order. Then we have seen about the classification of history, that is your ancient history, medieval history and modern history. So our first unit is about the advent of Europeans. So it comes under the modern history. Then we have seen about the types of sources. So sources are very important to reconstruct our history. So it is collected by the historians. Historian means the person who writes the history. So we have two types, written source and material source. Written source means some document form. So for example, your diaries. So diaries of Anandarangam, and then archive. So I have told about the National Archive is located at New Delhi, and George William Forrest is called the father of Indian National Archive, and Tamil Nadu Archive is located at Chennai. And material sources, painting, forts and coins. So I hope you are clear with this session. So now let's see some textbook pages which is related to this session. So page number 125. So the first unit of history is Advent of Europeans. Advent of Europeans. Advent means arrival or the entry of Europeans into India. So today I have told you about the sources of modern India. So sources can be two types, written source and material source. So I have explained you about the Anandarangam. So Anandarangam served under the French territory. So next is page number 126. So in that I have told his diaries. So Anandarangam diaries contains daily events from 1736 to 1760, and the examples for written sources are literature, travel accounts, diaries, autobiographies, pamphlets, government documents and manuscripts. So next I have explained you about the archives. So archive means it is a place where historical documents are preserved, and National Archive of India, that is NAI, is located in New Delhi. And I have told George William Forrest is called father of National Archives of India. Next I have told about the Tamil Nadu Archives, that is TNA. It is located at Chennai. And here Dodwell. So Dodwell was the one who published the first calendar of Madras record in the year 1917. So next I have told about some material sources. So these are all the forts. St. Francis Church at Cochin, St. Louis Fort at Pondicherry, St. George Fort in Madras, St. David Fort in Kadalur, India Gate, Parliament House, President House in New Delhi. So these provides detail about the architecture styles. And then I have told about the museum and the importance of museums. Next is page number 127. In that I have told the museum, the National Museum is located in Delhi and it was established in the year 1949. And coins provides a good source to know about the administrative history. And first coinage was issued in the year 1862, and then Reserve Bank was set up in the year 1935, but the first paper currency was issued by RBI in the year 1938, and it was a 5 rupees note. It contains a picture of King George the Sixth. So children, I hope you are clear with this session. So now let's see some evaluation questions. So if you have any doubt, go through the session once again and try to answer those questions. So first one is define history. Second is mention some points about an archive, and who is called the father of National Archives of India. And fourth one is mention the importance of coins, and fifth one is what is the importance of museum. So children, answer all these questions in a separate notebook which you are maintaining for social science. So in our next session we can see about how the Portuguese and the British entered into India. Thank you.